co-sponsored this event with us tonight, so I'm going to have her talk a little bit about TechSpace to get us started.
Office manager at TechSpace San Francisco. We have locations in New York, Austin, Texas, LA, Orange County, and right here in the heart of downtown. What TechSpace is a shared office space worksite that focuses in private, highly flexible, low commitment office spaces. We have office spaces for anywhere from 1 to 100 people. Depends on how many people you have and how much you grow. So say you come in with 1 people and you want 1 person and you want to grow and you're hiring, you can use our spaces. They're interconnected to grow as a company. We have interconnected suites and they're all fully furnished and pre-wired, so you can come in and start working the day you move into the space. The tech in TechSpace stands for the technology. We invest in best-in-class technology services so that you don't have to invest in that. And if you'd like to talk some more about TechSpace, please come chat with me afterwards. For now, take it away.
Thank you. Alright, so here at Men's Recruiting, we focus on placing sales and marketing professionals in revenue-generating positions. So sales, marketing, business development. And my team specifically focuses on finding sales leaders and a lot of heads of sales and VPs of sales. So tonight, we're going to have the opportunity to talk with Morgan and Farlan and talk with them a little bit about, first of all, how do you build a career in sales? Where do you start? The importance of mentorship along the way, and then milestones that are important to hit to become a VP of sales, overcoming roadblocks along the way, and then at the end of this is going to be really fun. We're going to have a question and answer session. The Q&A is going to be unfiltered, so we are hoping that you guys will ask the questions that are burning on your mind that you want to know. You'll have an opportunity to ask the experts. There are definitely a lot of experts in the audience here that can weigh in as well. So we hope that you'll be waiting for that burning question at the end. The reason why we're calling this a fireside chat, clearly it's comfortable. We're sitting in couches here. We don't have a fire. But we wanted it to be a comfortable, open environment where people can, again, ask the questions that they're hoping to ask. So to kick things off, I want to introduce our speakers tonight. First and foremost, Farlan. Thank you for being here, Farlan.
You're welcome. Well, this is great. It was very close. This is so important. With San Mateo, I can't say that again.
So Farlan is the current VP of Sales for Rainforest QA, and in the time that he's been there, he's actually grown ARR over 900%. He helped scale the team from 1 to 15, which helped them close their most recent round of funding of $12 million, which is huge. Yay! And then prior to Rainforest QA, he's been at many startups that have been either acquired or have gone public. So he definitely has a lot of experience there. And then we have Morgan Mackles. Thanks for being here, Morgan.
You're welcome.
Yeah. He is the current VP of Sales at Iron.io. And he is responsible for everything as it relates to revenue and as it relates to growth. Before he was at Iron.io, he was actually part of Council. I'm sure a lot of you know of Council. It's a biotech unicorn company. And he's also worked a lot with Vets Recruiting, so we really appreciate him being here tonight as well. Before we jump in, I want you guys to talk a little bit about your companies and tell everyone here what it is that Rainforest QA does and also Iron.io, so everyone's on the same page.
Go right ahead, Morgan.
So Iron.io is a job processing platform. What we do is we empower development and engineering teams at enterprises like Bleacher Report, until tonight, Turner Broadcasting, and what we're really doing is providing them with ROI control and choice for how to run their applications.
So Rainforest QA is like Uber, but for web testing. That's the easiest way to say it. So we've taken an old, stodgy, very non-innovative space, which is quality assurance for websites and web apps. And we've created a crowdsourced platform where you can, if you need your web app tested, in seconds have a crowd descend and test your cross-browser web app. So it is a brand new category, and we've been blessed to be the only real player in the space for the last few years. So it's been a really fun.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. One more thing that I forgot to mention. So we have 30 minutes allocated towards the questions that I'm going to direct towards Farlan and Morgan. At the end of this, I don't have a hard stop for the Q&A. If you guys have a hard stop, please feel free to go, but I don't have any time constraints there, and we want to just kind of let it go. So feel free to leave if you do have time constraints, but otherwise we're just going to kind of let it flow. Cool. Let's get started. So first things first, there's no degree in sales, right? You don't graduate college. Well, in some colleges you do, but you most of the time don't graduate and say, I want to be a sales VP. So, at what point did you guys say, I want to be a leader, I want to be a VP of sales, and how has that impacted your career growth along the way?
Well, I can start because my answer is short. I didn't choose to be in sales. I graduated during a recession and had to find a job, and someone offered me a position for 100% commission. No base salary, no nothing, smile and dial, and I had to take it. So that's how I ended up in sales. There was no pre-planning. I have a finance degree from Santa Clara.
Are you just with the real estate?
There was the internet when I graduated. Luckily, there was the internet, but yeah, no leads, no.
And when you decided, when you said, I'm gonna, I hate to say this, lean in and be a VP of sales, at what point did that kind of help shape your career as a VP of sales?
Yeah, definitely. So the knowing that I wanted to be a VP of sales did not start until I moved into startups. When I was in Fortune 500, it didn't seem like something that I wanted to do. I actually wasn't even that interested in sales management at Fortune 500. So how many of you guys have worked at a Fortune 500? You want to be a sales manager at a Fortune 500? I'm not sure. So once I got into startups, that's really when things clarified for me.
Great.
I didn't find sales. Sales found me and kept finding me. I hesitantly threw my hat in the ring at my last gig when the VP spot was opening, or whatever leadership spot, you call it whatever title you want. And I just said, okay, let's do it. And it was more a matter of like, the alternatives for who would have led at that point were not particularly interesting for me. And so I was like, F it, let's do it. Because I don't know if anybody would, choose the punishment of being a quote-unquote VP of sales. Like, it's like you're really a servant to your team, right, to make them successful. And when you hit the number, great, a bunch of smart people try to optimize everything and make it better, but usually screw it up. And then when you don't hit your number, you're the dog. So who would want to do that?
So a lot of people in this room tonight.
So inspiring.
Farlan and Morgan, believe it or not, some people in this room do actually want to be servants to their team.
Who does? Who wants to be VP of sales?
Yeah, Bill.
Okay, so we have like a half a dozen that were brave enough to put up their hands. I'm kidding. It's an awesome job. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of responsibility. But it's awesome. I do love it.
Great, thanks. The next thing I want to talk about is 5-year plans. So I'm a recruiter. My team asks this question all the time. I don't know why they ask this question. I'm sorry, you guys. I really don't. But when we ask someone, what do you want to do in 5 years? We get this awkward, long pause. And people think to themselves, I don't know what I want to be in 5 years. Maybe a VP of sales. But the problem with that is that there aren't actionable steps along the way that will get you to that point. So what recommendations do you have for somebody who does want to be a VP of sales and has that 5-year pie in the sky, or maybe 1 to 2 year pie in the sky dream of becoming a VP of sales? What do you recommend that they do to actually get to that point, and what actionable steps can they take to get there?
Yeah. So I would just do as many things along the value chain of sales. So SDR, account exec, do some enterprise sales, and then manage, and knock all of those out of the park. And it's for most folks, and just work really hard and actually do it, because if you haven't done it and you weren't really good at it and you had some stuff papered over on your resume or LinkedIn profile, the team's gonna smell it in an instant. So you have to have done it. You should be the real deal, and you're gonna have to manage. You're gonna have to figure out, is management a fit for you? So a lot of folks, when they figure out their 5-year plan, they inevitably end up with management, because that's what you do. You sell for a big, be an individual contributor, and then you go into management. But management is the hardest thing you will ever do. And done right, nobody can actually tell you what that means. Management done right, leadership done right. So it's very, very difficult. And there are some that naturally gravitate towards that. And if that's good and you're having success as a manager, that's great, right? And you can really go that next level. Hopefully you have all the hard work behind, putting the work in terms of an SDR and an account exec. So you got to do the various pieces. And then there's a lot more detail, but I mean, it's really like having a niche in a space that you have. Maybe it's SaaS, maybe it's the cloud, maybe it's in fintech or whatever it is, but you should have some familiarity with the space and a body of work that makes sense. If you just hopped around to random things, it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah. So for me, a lot of similarities and overlap. The way I think about it is, the first thing that you have to do, you got to win in the seat that you're in. Right? It's a cliche, but you have to do really well. You excel at whatever role you are at without worrying too much about what it's going to be next. You have to excel where you are. Second, to Farlan's point, you have to manage something as fast as possible and at every level.
Yeah.
So processes, then maybe a pod or a team, and then bigger and bigger processes or your higher leverage, which we'll talk about more. And then third, I really believe in getting to know, like, networking, getting to know internal and external people as much as possible. And some events like this are a good step. The more you do this, the more you expose yourself to meet people. I think that's another driver.
Great. And on that, can you talk about a time where maybe you were on a path and then you took a misstep and you were like, shit, that was maybe not the best move. I need to get back on track. Do you guys have examples of times where maybe that's happened to you along the way?
Yeah, we're doing the snake.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so we're gonna do snake order. So that's yeah, I definitely do. I will tell you that one of the things that happened to me in my 20s is that I had what I believed to be a very good job that was very comfortable, that I had locked in, and my career misstep was becoming complacent, spending a little bit too much time there. And if we do, well, I was just gonna say, for the folks that are here after the cameras go off, I would love to dive into that one and get a little more explicit. But that was my misstep.
Great. Farlan.
I joined several years ago. I joined a company that was, I would call, an embryonic startup. They had a product that was super exciting, that was about 5 or 10 years before its time in terms of product market fit. And anybody that wants to be a VP of sales, you can be the best VP of sales in the world. If you don't have product market fit, it's gonna be very difficult. So product market fit, like, write that down and underline that as like, but yeah, it was like an embryonic startup with like 6 folks. I was one of the 6, and it's a different vibe. You work with a company, there's 50 employees, 100, there's energy, you're like a turtle getting caught in the jet stream. If you go into an embryonic startup with like 6, you don't quite have product market fit, you're doing incubation of biz dev, it wasn't a good fit for my personality and what I can bring to the table. And it ended within 6 months, and it was kind of an acquisition, it was kind of an acqui-hire, and they just decided to sell, and I was like, shit. Like, there's when you do a 6-month gig and then you're back on the street looking for another gig, it sucks. And I really internalized that. I went through a lot of pain. It probably doesn't sound painful, like saying it, but like it's viscerally painful when you're like, shit, this is going nowhere, and I might be working at Starbucks, right? Because you send yourself down that little rabbit hole, right? And it's not that bad, but it's tough when you have a gig that doesn't align with you. There's some folks, great, embryonic startup, loving it. For me, it wasn't a fit. So it actually really helped me a lot in assessing what a good fit for me is and what good criteria for the next gig is. And the two after that, I really applied that and picked, so far two really good winners. But that was definitely difficult. So that's knowing what you can be good at and in what situations you can thrive.
Absolutely. You talked about product market fit. As a recruiter for VPs of sales, I hear that every single day. I want a company that has product market fit. Can you talk a little bit more about what that actually means to you and what you look for to understand if the company does have product market fit?
So when I went into Rainforest, I asked some very specific questions to kind of suss this out. It's very, very important. I would ask, what does inbound lead flow look like? What does outbound lead flow look like? How many deals have been closed in the last few months? Who are the customers? I would talk to some customers, depending on what stage in your career you're at, and I did. I would look at what the ACV is and how that's increasing. And the biggest thing is, don't get caught by, they've got a couple of nice big logos. That is major red flag, because startup with a couple of nice big Fortune 500 logos equals like POC or working with like some small division. So make sure that they have like a product market fit and an area of the market that is, and I'll quote this, repeatable. And repeatable means that they've got a way to do that time and time again. And so if you've got 20, 30, 40 of something, that's interesting. If you've got a few kind of random companies and a couple of big logos, I'm not sure if that's.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's switch gears a little bit, because I think a huge part of finding your next career move and having career progression is finding a mentor that sort of helps you along the way, that you can pick up the phone and say, hey, Farlan, I have this situation, what are your thoughts on this? That kind of knows in and out outside of, the groupthink of the office where you want your career to go. So what are your thoughts on the importance of mentorship, and how do you go about picking a mentor that's going to add value to your life?
Yep, it's super applicable for me because at Iron.io, I have a mentor. He was specifically referred to me by one of our venture capitalists, and he's been a great fit for me. And specifically, one of the things that I like about him is that he's had success in kind of a similar, with a similar sales motion, right? Similar team sizes, kind of similar domain, but that's not as important. The team sizes, the venture rounds, like where you're at in terms of the company's growth. He's experienced those things, except he's a little bit further or a little bit like more accomplished than I am. So he has a couple exits at those similar sizes. He has several years more board meetings and seen more patterns. So that's what's been most useful for me.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you sort of identified somebody that you wanted to be in 5 years, and you went after that person as your mentor.
Yeah, yes, except with the caveat that, again, back to my relationships kind of thing, he was actually introduced to us by a VC.
Okay.
Who, I got to know obviously when I had an interview for the company, and he found a good fit with my personality, the guy he knew who had built, and again, a good reputation that preceded him, and he kind of put us together.
Great. Farlan, what are your thoughts on mentorship?
It sounds super cheesy and super cliche, but when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. How, on a scale of like 1 to 10, how cheesy? I think it's maybe a 10. I didn't choose to bring them, but like 10 rainforesters showed up. So it's like the worst audience ever, because they've heard all my they're familiar with all my BS. But I have to tell you, I would not be here. I definitely wouldn't be here on this couch, and I wouldn't intentionally be in San Francisco, having done decently well in my career if it weren't for 3 super instrumental mentors that I had early on in my career. One, and I didn't seek these folks out. They were like made my bosses, or they had come into companies that I was working at, and I was lucky enough that they spent time with me, right? And one was the ex something or other of IKEA Canada, which is pretty cool as a Montreal, like kind of big stuff. One was the ex-COO of like T-Mobile USA, who just happened to come into this startup I was working at in Irvine. I got to spend some time with her. And then another one was like a couple VPs of sales here in San Francisco. But being open and being open to being taught, and these same people, they had folks internally at the company who wrote them off. Oh, she's just totally into HR, really not doing much, and blah, blah, blah. And they wrote off these people that I learned so much from about management and just like business in general. So you really have to be open. Don't write people off. That's the first thing. And then actually going out and seeking mentors. For me, it's been introductions. So actually going out and choosing somebody cold, it's tough. Like, Mark Roberge, I'll reach out to, and I'll say, it'll be a half an hour, great, we'll give you half an hour. He's super busy. There has to be some type of invested interest, right? I have another mentor that was referred to me for our CEO. He spent a bit more time. And so you just, you can proactively seek some of them out, but they'll come about in different ways. But I know it sounds super corny, but you really do have to be open. So that's my best advice.
Makes a lot of sense. How often do you reach out to your mentors and say, hey, I need to chat again, let's talk again, and how do you add value to them?
I don't reach out that much because it takes a lot of work for me to reach out. I have to have my shit prepared. And you don't just call them up and say, hey, I'm just kind of like wondering about this. And it's like, I have an agenda, I have a whole bunch of points I want to hit, and it's like big time. And I know I'm asking for an hour, 45 minutes of his or her time, and that's major. So I reach out very sparingly. But it's like the mentor piece, there's mentors that you have that you proactively reach out to, that you have like a list of stuff, or they're gonna give you advice, and it's still hard because you have to select like those one or two things that are actually applicable, right? You can get all the advice you want, you can have all the mentors you want, but you still have to filter that for what's happening like on the front lines with you, because they only have so much context, right? So it's still a lot, like there's the mentor piece, but then there's like being prepared, asking the right questions, and then filtering that.
Yeah.
So not that much.
Morgan, say somebody reaches out to you and says, hey Morgan, I really want you to be my mentor. I love what you're doing at Iron.io.
Yep.
What value as a VP of sales, maybe a sales manager, director of sales comes to you and says, I want to be a VP of sales. What value is that person going to add to your life and your career? And the reason why I ask that is because I know personally, and then also on my team, I try and set people up with mentors here and there.
Okay.
I want to make sure that they're going to be able to add value to the person that they're reaching out to.
Yep.
So how do you feel about that? And do you feel like a mentor relationship is actually going to add value to your life?
Yeah, what's in it for me? We're always hiring, right? So we're always looking for talent. So I'm looking for people that are ambitious and are open to that experience, just like I was, just like Farlan is what he's talking about. Those are the kind of people that are going to be the best. They're going to be the best people. It's just 80 tech people. So that's kind of in it. That's what's in it for me, to talk to people outside of my organization. I will say I've started at this phase. Majority of my mentorship is really the people that are already there at my company, because we're moving really fast. So there's no time really to be that guy the way I might have been, or I was at other companies where we were more established. And then just personally, I do advisory stuff for like Heavy Bet, for the program that we were in. And I get value out of that. It's not so much talking to salespeople, I'm usually talking to founders. I get value out of that because you get a different perspective on where people are at earlier phases in a company's growth. And for me, that's been extremely valuable. And I will say it applies to people in the audience in sales, no matter how experienced you are, because early stage founders, before they have salespeople, they're going to want to talk to salespeople about what it's like to be a salesperson. That's a really cool way for salespeople at any stage to just learn more about where founders are really at, where their head is at. Where do they understand product market fit? Like, do you? So that's what's in it
For folks out there that are looking for mentors, for mentorship, or looking to grow, join a great sales team with smart people, with great leaders, and you've got them like right there at your beck and call. You can observe like what's going on. I think it's a very impactful way to go about that as well.
Great. Now, a lot of when you're applying to a position or say you're getting an introduction through your network, it's important to have the quantifiable metrics, the quantifiable experience on your resume. So I want to put you guys on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, is the sexiest thing that you both have on your resume that sort of stands out and says, this is why I'm a VP of sales?
Oh, an hour resume.
Sexy alarm. Sexy alarm.
That's a curveball.
Has anybody stopped our LinkedIn profile?
It speaks for itself.
Definitely not the picture.
Sorry, where are we on the snake here? So
I don't know.
For my resume personally, what I've found to resonate, the first thing, I'm really a big stickler on proven track record. It's a proven track record of success. What's a little bit unique about my resume in particular is that I have Fortune 500 background and startup experience and success in both, which is pretty unique.
Definitely.
I would say that's the difference.
I just jammed a bunch of numbers up there, and I think that looks sexy.
Well, the 12 million
You know,
in revenue, I mean.
I'm gonna take your introduction and put it on my LinkedIn. All that stuff sounded
written.
Sounded great. But I'll tell you, for folks that want to, and I think I know where the question's coming from, but for folks that are looking to take that step up, as you move up, you're gonna want to see how many folks. I want to see folks for when they sales executive pieces like, okay, what's your quota? How did you do? Right? What type of companies were you working with? But the most important for sales executives is the most important metric I look at: how long have you been in the company? Are you 6 month hop around, 6 month hop around, 1 year hop around, 1 year hop around? Not interesting. Are you 3 years at a gig where you've seen success, you've seen successful people, you've got some grit and stick-witedness? That means way more than, I don't know, whatever made-up quota percentages are on there that could verify anything, right? That's one. Second one is, from a management perspective, if I'm hiring a frontline manager, I want to see how many folks have you hired, right? And then I'm going to ask, how many folks have you had to manage out, and what does that look like in terms of actually building the team? That's interesting. From a VP sales perspective, I think that you work with that level of folks more than I do. But I think, depending on what type of VP you're hiring, or what type of VP you are, how have you grown the company's ARR rev stack? That's the biggest one. What kind of growth have you helped the company achieve? Potentially sexy.
Yeah,
From an early growth
absolutely.
sexy.
Absolutely. Just throw a couple of those numbers up there, scale a couple companies, you're fine, trust me.
Yeah.
Great. Let's talk about overcoming roadblocks along the way. So, which roadblocks did you guys hit? I know we've touched on this a little bit, but along the way to become a VP of sales.
We touched on it a little bit. I was thinking about this question earlier, and I feel like when people talk about roadblocks to whatever moving up in their sales career, what resonated for me? So, not progressing, not feeling supported, and then not feeling challenged was a really big one that I thought of. And I guess my feedback on that would be, it's really important, I think, to take that situation, whatever the challenge might be, to kind of put it back on yourself and say, why do you feel like those things are happening? So specifically one that resonated with me is challenge, right? And I think that if you are someone who isn't feeling challenged, that's I don't feel that that's your career's fault, that's not your company's fault. I think that's on you. And something that we hear, another cliche, we're throwing out cliches, right? One of my favorite cliches,
one right now.
Get it right. One of my favorite cliches is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. That is a big one.
I told the truth.
Took that one, I stole that one. And so I guess there's really no excuse to feel that you're in a situation where you're being constrained by any of those things, especially when we live in San Francisco, we live in this time, there are resources like That's Recruiting out there to help you. There's really no excuse. And so, yeah, I mean, I could go way deeper into my own experience in my 20s and kind of what I learned from that, but that's probably better for after.
There are no roadblocks. There's only opportunities for improvement. I wasn't, like, for the last 5 years, I wasn't kind of like, need to get to VP, need to get to VP, need to get to VP. It just, like, that progression happened. We can talk about that in the Q&A. I would say for folks here, roadblocks to becoming a VP, if that's the question, or roadblocks to maturing in a direction of management and leadership, the biggest roadblock that you will have is people. And that is figuring out how to motivate people and figuring out how to get the best out of people and figuring out how to manage folks. And it is something that, like, I was really lucky early on in my career when I was like early 20s to be able to manage a couple of folks. Man, was it a disaster. Like, it was like, I was a terrible manager, but I learned from that. And so that should be a roadblock. I mean, if you think that you're going to become a manager and lead people without really screwing it up, screw it up early, right? Learn the lessons early, not late. But that's the biggest roadblock, is getting that experience of, you know, hopefully, and it's something that you work on every day. I can't say I'm a great manager or a great leader. It's something I'm working on. I think you will work on until forever, right? But that's going to be the roadblock, is to start to get that experience. Because just because you hit it out of the park for 16 consecutive quarters, so it says on LinkedIn, doesn't mean you know anything about getting folks to, you know, united in a certain direction, right? That's, to me, a roadblock.
Thanks, guys. All right, so we've talked a lot about becoming a VP of sales tonight. I know that everyone in here has exciting questions to ask to both Farlan and Morgan. We're going to go to our uncensored bit.
Everybody wave to the camera. Say bye.
Bye. See ya. We're going to talk about juicy things.